Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Friday Charge from the EV Geek podcast. We're your hosts, Joel and Sebastian. And today, March 7th, 2025, we've got a handful of topics such as Tesla is going to be opening a new factory soon, Volkswagen has revealed an EV for everyone. If you thought the Escalade wasn't big enough, boy, do I have news for you, and a couple other topics. So without further ado, let's plug in and get started. All right, so our first topic of the night is Tesla is going to be opening a new factory. Revealed through government filings, Tesla is planning to build out a new mega factory near Houston, Texas. The proposed site is currently used for parts distribution for Tesla. However, they intend to switch the property over to a production facility for its mega pack hardware. In tax documents, it states that Tesla plans to spend approximately $44 million on facility improvements and $150 million on manufacturing equipment. Additionally, it looks like Tesla expects to spend another roughly $33 million building a new distribution center at the site. So this I just thought was cool. You know, they're building an additional plant, and it's going to be in Texas because it seems they're moving all their stuff to Texas. So I didn't have a whole lot else to add on it. I just thought it was cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. I mean, we've seen recently in Tesla's earning reports that we're starting to see more revenue come from these mega pack installations. So starting to hit their bottom line even more now, for the good. So it only makes sense that they need to roll this out more, and it only makes sense to put it in Texas because Texas has a lot of perks to it. There's no state income tax. That's got a good workforce and probably paying less tax than they were in California. So, I think moving forward, we'll see a lot more buildup of Tesla in Texas. But yeah, pretty cool news. Like to see them build this out, and hopefully they can continue doing it.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on. GM has teased a new off-road Silverado EV. So ahead of the launch of the previously announced Silverado EV Trail Boss, they're now teasing an even higher powered off-road version of the electric truck. Unveiled at the Mint 400, which is an off-road race, Chevy showed off a ZR2 version of the Silverado EV concept. The concept is powered by 3 electric motors with up to 1,100 horsepower and 11,500 pound-feet of torque. Additionally, the ZR2 features adaptive dampers, underbody skid plates, locking differentials, big old off-road tires, etc. GM has not announced if will ever make it to series production, but I'll note that the truck looks like it could be on a dealer lot. Like, this isn't some wild looking vehicle like a lot of these off-road race concepts we end up seeing. There's already the ZR2 Silverado like gas truck, and it has kind of the modified metal bumpers and big old tires and some of that stuff. And so if you look at the CR2 EV that they're showing off that has the metal bumpers and off-road tires, and it's a tri-motor config, which is the same as what's on the Hummer EV 3X, and the horsepower number that they're quoting is very similar, which makes me think it might just be the Hummer EV 3X powertrain.
That's what I'm thinking. Look at these pictures.
To find this be real, like they end up actually selling this.
Because I mean, it looks pretty cool. I don't know why they wouldn't sell it. Why would it just be a concept? It's not like they have to do a whole lot to it to make it into production. But as you say, it kind of does look like, from what I'm looking at it kind of does have that Hummer EV kind of look to it. So I'm sure they're probably using, it looks like the 3X. We've driven a 3X, so it looks very similar to that with the big wheels and things like that. So yeah, I mean, just more options out there for those who love trucks, who want a more off-road truck. Because really right now, off-roading truck is the Rivian, and that's about it. I mean, if you want to go down some trails and things like that, it's just the Rivian, the R1T. So glad to hope this comes out. I would love to drive one. I'd like to take it off-road, see how it handles and things like that. But looking at the specs, it should handle pretty well.
Well, hey, even if GM doesn't actually bring a ZR2 EV out, they are still planning to launch the Trail Boss trim this summer, which will feature 35-inch all-terrain tires and a trim-specific terrain mode, which I imagine works pretty similar to how it works in the Hummer. And there's some visual tweaks, which if they do the same thing with the EV that they've done with the gas Silverado, the Trail Boss will probably fall either right below the LT or right above the LT. as far as like packaging goes. Because
So
on
you're
the
looking,
gas,
yeah.
on the
So
gas Silverado,
LTs start at 75 and go up to 81. It looks like so.
yeah, because on the gas Silverado, there's a Trail Boss trim that's in between the work truck and LT, and there's a Trail Boss trim that's in between the LT and the RST.
Gotcha.
So
thinking around
depending on which way
70K
they go,
probably, yeah. That's what
or
I would
80,
guess.
it'll be
Or 80.
70 or 80. That's my expectation.
Yep, because the LT extended range with the premium package is 81.9, which gets you 390 miles, and the LT with just the extended range is 75, and that gets you 408. So
yeah. But anyway, moving on. Volkswagen has revealed an EV for everyone.
Everyone.
So they have reviewed their newest, cheapest EV, and they have named it the ID period every one. EVERY number 1.
Let me pull these pictures up.
This new entry-level model is expected to start at 20,000 euros, so roughly 21,500 US dollars. VW expects to begin series production of this model in 2027, and it will be sold across Europe. However, we're not seeing this in the US. I have no reason to believe Volkswagen would have any reason to bring this car to us. Volkswagen states that this ID everyone will use a, quote, new and powerful software architecture, end quote, which I can only imagine means one thing. It must have something to do with the company that starts with the letter R and ends with Ivian.
Yep. I'm sure it's going to look very familiar, so.
Yeah. VW is expecting this new model to have roughly 155 miles of range, 94 horsepower, seating for 4, but will only be 152 inches long. Just for comparison, the Chevy Bolt was 164 inches long, and the EX30 is 166 inches long. Again, I have no expectation for this to come to the United States with those specs. However, I do think it's cool that we might actually see a traditional automaker finally release an EV at that $20,000 mark. You know, that's something that we see the Chinese automakers doing, but we've not really seen any of our more traditional automakers do yet.
Yeah, so I'm assuming from looking at this, probably the size of a Mini Cooper is what I'm assuming.
Yeah,
so
that seems like a safe bet.
I think it even said that in here. I think it's somewhere. It's about the same size. Yep, it's about the same size as a two-door Mini Cooper. So I mean, it looks cool, but you're right. There's no way this is coming to the U.S. I mean, it's just too small. U.S. drivers, for the most part, don't like cars like this. They don't like these tiny cars with any word on the range yet or not on this? Probably not.
They're expecting 155 miles.
Oh yeah, it's not coming to the U.S. with that range. No. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But yeah, a cool looking car. I love this. I would love to see one on the road. It kind of reminds me of one of the kind of the Volkswagens, that kind of those hatchbacks they have on the road today, the gas powered ones. So
yeah, it reminds me of like a late 90s Golf GTI.
That's what I was thinking, a Golf. Yep, a late 90s Golf. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
which, speaking of small cars, do you think the Escalade IQ is not big enough?
How big is it, Sebastian?
Did you find yourself in the market for a new Escalade IQ, but you thought, man, this thing is just too small? Well, you're in luck.
It's like a promo.
GM has availed the 2026 Cadillac Escalade IQ L.
Ooh.
Mechanically and spec-wise, it's the exact same as the existing model, but it's 4 inches longer and has an extra inch of headroom in the third row.
Yep.
The IQL will start at $130,000 compared to the $127,000 of the non-L model.
It's $1,000 per inch, isn't it?
And you get an inch for free.
Get an inch for free. Buy 3 inches, get one free.
Hold on, I was looking something up real quick. Sorry. This is obscene at this point.
I'm looking. Yeah, we're showing pictures right now. This thing is just, I mean, you really can't tell on the screen that it's 4 inches longer, but yeah, I mean, why you looked it up? I saw one of these out in the wild for the first time, and of all places, a Walmart parking lot. And it's just huge. I mean, I thought like the Hummer, because we drove a Hummer SUV, last weekend for a couple of days, was big. This thing is big. It is massive. And now this one's even going to be longer. This thing was sticking out of the parking space. It was so big. I mean, it's just, I don't understand.
So the IQL
Yep.
will be 228.5 inches long.
Look at that thing. It's just. I'm sure it'll be great efficient too. I'm super
19
efficient.
feet, Joel.
I know.
19 feet.
That's 3 of me.
You almost
3.
need a CDL for that.
I
However,
know.
I kind of think the L looks better than the regular one.
It's got a more of the Tahoe look to it.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
L gets that piece of glass behind the, what is that, the C pillar or the D pillar? That the non-L doesn't get that. The non-L just kind of has more of a swooped off back, whereas that's more boxy, and I think it looks better. Not that I'll ever be in the market for a $130,000 SUV.
Yeah, you will.
But
if I look funny, I got a sneeze coming on, so
I can't see you right
so
now.
If you because I'm sharing the screen. So yeah, so if it looks funny, I'm glad because I'm about to sneeze. So yeah, keep going.
Anyway,
I digress.
Yeah, I thought it was neat. I'm happy they're doing this. I think we all expected them to do it. You know.
Oh yeah.
They have an extended version of the gas Escalade. They have an extended version of the Tahoe called the Suburban. They have an extended Yukon. Naturally, Cadillac was going to do this on their electric one. And in the future, if GM ever does a electric Yukon or electric Tahoe, there's going to be a Suburban. There's going to be... You should just expect it. Yeah. But yeah, I just thought it was cool.
You know, we like things big here in America, so...
And, you know, and the fact that they're stating they expect it to have the same range, so 460 miles of range. Now, it does that because it has like a 220 or 230 kilowatt hour battery.
It's a huge battery. With my whole monthly electric bill would be charging that thing from 10 to 80%. So
yeah. And finally, we have a lot of new vehicles this week.
We do.
Volvo has finally unveiled the ES90.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that last week, correct?
Sure did.
We teased it.
So the ES90 will be Volvo's first all-electric sedan. And as previously teased, this vehicle is Volvo's first 800-volt architecture car. And it will have a new 102 kilowatt-hour battery pack capable of charging at up to 350 kilowatts and is expected to have 430 miles of range in the WLTP cycle. So you can expect probably around 360, 370 miles EPA. Volvo is also touting this vehicle as having a drag coefficient of 0.25, which is pretty slippery for a large sedan. However, it also has a hatch, so maybe it's less large sedan, more hatchback, fastback.
Cool.
The vehicle is also expected to have the hardware for bidirectional charging, phone as a key. It's going to have dual NVIDIA Drive AGX Orin computers, which we've talked about previously, because they also plan on adding those to the EX90 and the Polestar 3, and they're doing a cool thing where they're actually going to upgrade existing cars for free, which I think is pretty sweet. And then those will power the advanced driving features that are going to be powered by the LiDAR sensor on the roof. It's also going to have 4,400 pounds of towing capacity for some reason, and will have 670 horsepower in the top trim and a 3.9 second 0 to 60. The vehicle is expected to launch in Europe later this year. However, there's not any word on when a U.S. launch is expected. However, I do expect Volvo to bring it to the U.S.
Yeah, so you did mention 800-volt architecture, correct?
Yep.
Okay, and 10 to 80% in 20 minutes, which is about standard on 800-volt architecture. So that's pretty good charging at 350.
It's actually really good considering it's a 102 kilowatt-hour battery pack.
Yep, it's 10 to 80% just 20 minutes at a 350 kilowatt charging station. So yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, it's giving me Polestar vibes. So like Polestar 2 vibes. It's kind of what it's giving.
It's a good mix of the Volvo design language and kind of that newer design language that we've seen Polestar use. Yep. It fits in well with the EX90 and the EX30 as well.
Yep. I mean, we've driven both the EX90 and the EX30. Great driving cars. I mean, I don't think this is not, and I've driven a Polestar before. We're actually going to get a Polestar this weekend to drive. So I'm assuming it's going to drive very similar to those cars. So I like it. I like Volvo. I like what they're doing. It's probably going to be a $90,000 car because it's luxury. So it's going to compete with the BMW.
Yeah, that's what the 90 at ES90 stands for, right?
Yeah, ES90.
$90,000.
expected sale price of $90,000. So that's what it stands for. Yeah. Thank you. We just deciphered that. So, But yeah, I mean,
Alright.
if I had 90,000, I'd buy it. I mean, it's a pretty cool car. I mean, I'd
I'd
probably,
probably buy the EX90 because I think an SUV is probably more
yep.
practical for me, but
Yeah, but I'm going through a midlife crisis. Give me a nice sedan. So
I think your midlife crisis car is supposed to be a sports car, Joel, not
close
a
enough.
luxury sedan.
It's a luxury. I'm old. I'll sip my coffee and drive around in it. So yeah.
Joel, is your midlife crisis car going to be a Cadillac Coupe de Ville? Like, what is the?
Yes, it's gonna be a nice Honda Accord. So that's me.
All right, Joel. So, what did we release this week?
So on Monday we released everyone's favorite OG EV, which was our review of the Nissan Leaf SV. So this was kind of a last minute review we had some time to kill after an event. Called my buddy up at Superior in Conway. He said, "Yeah, we got one on the lot. Come down." And so we went down and tested it out. So yeah, that car was interesting. So we drove a while ago. We drove an older, probably about 6-8 months ago. We drove an older Nissan Leaf. I don't know what year that was, but 2018, 2019, I think, something like that.
2018 was the second gen model.
So you know everything. It's my old brain. I can't remember that stuff. It was on sale for $6,000. It wasn't a bad car. It was the first time driving a Leaf. Wasn't much different driving the 2024 model, actually. So, yeah, I mean, here's the Leaf. The Leaf has a purpose. When I post a video, I got nailed by everyone overseas saying it's the perfect car overseas in Europe. It is. Because most people in Europe drive 5 to 10 miles a day. It's the perfect car over there, but it's not the perfect car here in the United States, unless it's a second car and you're just using it just like you, to and from work every day, 20, 30 miles. Then it works perfectly. My issue with it is it looks dated. Like when you get in the car, it looks like a 2018 Honda Accord on the inside with the buttons and graphics and all that. And that's just because we've been in so many high tech EVs lately, reviewing them, and you get in this, and you're like, I feel like I'm going back 10 years. So, I mean, that was my only gripe with it. And and at Chatham and, the thermals on the battery and charging, it's outdated.
For me, the Leaf is not a bad driving EV.
No.
Like it has plenty of get up and go. It has good regen. It's got good brake tuning. It's a surprisingly well planted car. Like, it's not a bad car to drive.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the issues start when you consider. So the one we drove was actually the SV Plus. So it does have the 60 kilowatt hour battery pack, I believe. It's 60. I think that's the right number. It might be like 62. Anyway.
Yeah.
So it has extended range. It's like 200 something miles of range, but it's an air cooled battery still, which the longevity on the longevity on the Gen 2 Leaf seems to be way better than the first gen Leafs, but it's still an air cooled battery. And then, like you said, it's still using CHAdeMO in 2025. There is a 2025 Leaf that will still have CHAdeMO on it.
Yeah.
And now, thanks to some amazing geniuses, you can now get adapters to go from CHAdeMO to CCS, which is pretty freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But those adapters are like $1,200.
Oh yeah, they're expensive. Yeah, and the price doesn't work either. The price doesn't work.
Well, I was getting there, Joel.
I'm sorry. I'll listen.
But I was just, talking about. So even if you got your CHAdeMO to CCS adapter, you go DC fast charge, you do a deep charge, the battery gets hot, then there's no liquid cooling.
Yep.
So if the battery stays hot, you go to your next charging stop, and then you get absolute trash charging performance because the battery's hot.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do? So, I mean, it's one of those things like, yes, you can get the adapter, but you probably aren't ever going to want to fast charge it because you're just going to cook the battery unless it's like 10 degrees outside, and then it's going to charge slow because it's cold because it can't heat the battery.
Yep.
And then there's the other issue. Damned if you do and
damned if you don't.
Correct. And then there's the issue of the one we drove, the sticker on it was $38,000.
It does not qualify for tax rebate, does it? I don't think it does.
I think they have.
Okay.
Let me look at that real quick because that's an important note.
I know states like Colorado have been doing crazy lease deals on these, like, $25. I think what California is like $25 a month lease deal. I mean, you can just pay it off before you even walk out of there. You can just buy out your lease before you even walk out of there.
Yeah. So, and that's one thing too, is like, yes, the one we drove had an MSRP of $38,000. However, I don't know if it had any incentives on it or anything, because I got the impression that car had been sitting on their lot for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the Leaf, it says only...
That's what they told us. It wasn't an impression. That's what they told us. He said, it's been sitting here a while. So I was like, oh, okay. So, yeah.
So according to the IRS... Oh, wait, that's for used. Dang it. Hold on. Credits for new vehicles. There we go.
But yeah, but at that price, you're talking Model 3. You're talking Ioniq 5. You're talking EV6.
It actually does not currently qualify for tax credit.
And
so
you
it's
don't get
38
the tax
grand.
credit. It's 38 grand based on A.
And
yep.
Yeah. And so it's like the Leaf would make sense if it was, because it's, as far as basic transportation goes, it does everything you need a car to do for basic transportation needs, right?
Yep.
If you're just going, like you said, going back and forth to work, whatever, it's fine. Or you can get some stupid, crazy lease deal where you're paying $20 a month for 2 years. That makes sense. But at 38 grand, you're talking, that's Equinox money.
Mm-hmm.
That's, you mentioned you can get a Model 3 for that money, and the Model 3 qualifies for tax credit currently.
The EGMP cars for that money?
You can get used EGMP that money. I don't know if you can. You'd have a harder time finding a new one at that money.
You would. But the other way around, you get a Nero.
Oh yeah, you could get a Nero, a Kona, which those would be better basic transportation because they at least have a cooled liquid battery,
and they charge
or liquid cooled battery and a CCS port.
Yep. But think about it. If you go shopping for a car, unless you're anti-Elon, Nissan Leaf or Model 3. I mean, that's not a comparison to me, unless you just don't like Teslas.
How much is an Aria?
I think Aria was like 42, aren't they now? So, yeah, I think I've been seeing it.
I'm looking it up. I'm Googling. The Aria starts at 39.
Yep.
So why would you buy the Leaf? Why would you buy the Leaf SV Plus? Now, the Leaf technically starts at 28 grand.
Yeah,
but that gets you the smaller battery, and that's the base model. Why would you buy the SV Plus for the bigger battery when you could spend $1 grand more and get an even bigger battery on the Aria that will have better range and a CCS port and can charge at Tesla superchargers and a nicer interior with more modern features? It just...
Maybe they just keep it around to upsell the Aria. That's why.
Yeah, it's 2025 and the Leaf doesn't make sense anymore.
Yep.
And that was kind of the point of the video.
Yep.
If you haven't watched it yet, we've spoiled it for you now.
And it's funny because I posted that in the Nissan Leaf chats, and I said, does the Leaf make sense anymore? And a lot of the owners said, no, it doesn't. So, and these are actual Leaf owners. So it's... I remember you saying, we like to kind of look at Facebook groups or whatever and ask like, hey, is there anything we need to know before we drive the car? Yeah.
And you said you had people that were like, why are you wanting to drive this car?
Why are you wanting to drive a 2024 Leaf? I'm like, they're like, why do you want to review that for?
Which, if the owners of the car are like, why do you care?
Yeah.
That should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah. So, they're like, why are you doing this? I'm like, someone gave us a Leaf, we're going to review it. Why not? We're not going to tell them no.
Yeah. And it's like,
I don't want to review a BZ4X, but if Toyota called tomorrow and says, hey, we got one for you to review, I'll be like, all right, cool, I'll go review it.
Yeah,
so,
it's like, ultimately, if you could get yourself like, the main thing for me with the Leaf is like, it's all the old technology and it's expensive.
Yeah.
If you were in a market like Colorado and you could get one for $20 a month, all the old technology no longer matters.
Yep. Yep.
Because I'm paying $20 a month for 2 years. So I'm paying what? $400?
Yep.
And I just got a brand new car that sure has old dated technology, but it's costing me literally nothing to drive.
Yep.
And so it's like, in that situation, Leaf makes perfect sense. Go buy 2 of them.
Yep.
But if you're not getting some amazing deal, you could buy literally any other EV right now and be in a better boat.
You could. That is true. So yeah, that came out on Monday. And then Wednesday we had a really cool interview with Sophie Dower. She is a Mustang Mach-E owner. Some of the best fans out there, best people out there are Mustang Mach-E and Ford Lightning owners. But she's a little bit different. So tell everyone a little bit about what she does with her Mach-E.
Yeah, so she is just really cool, like you said. She currently runs or is one of the member. I can't remember if she runs it. Or
she runs the Mach-E Girls Club, I think. Yes.
Yeah, so she runs the North California Mach-E Club and the Mach-E Rally Club.
Mm-hmm.
And she's done a bunch of other stuff like that. She works in the automotive field doing like 3D printed stuff for interiors, which is awesome.
Yep.
And she does cool stuff with her Mustang Mach-E.
Yep.
So she's had actually 2 of them. Her first one was a 2021 Premium, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And she did a bunch of like visual modifications on it. She built her own like front splitter using like a 3-piece splitter, made it 1 piece, and did a bunch of stuff like that, and it's done like lighting mods on them. And she's done rallycross in it and autocross stuff. And then she got her Mach-E Rally and continues to do all that stuff. And it's just super cool to see people buying the cars and using the cars, and just, yeah. And it was super cool to hear her talk about kind of the stuff that, her perspective on EV stuff. Cause, this was the Mach-E was her first EV.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of how she ended up in the car versus what she had originally gone to the dealership to look at, and just everything, like, interesting story, interesting to get her take, interesting to hear about kind of the ways that she has modified her cars, because we don't really hear a lot about people modifying their EVs unless you're like a Tesla owner and you're buying the stuff for your Model 3 or Model Y, but really we don't hear anything about modifications outside of Tesla and maybe Rivian.
Yep.
And so it's just
I would
cool
say that too, you're right. And a little bit of tonneau covers and things like that with Fords and things like that. Yeah.
But yeah,
but not much. You're right, not much. So yeah, it was really cool
it's
interview.
just super cool to get that perspective.
Super cool interview. A lot of people don't soup up their EVs. I mean, it's a lot of things. It's not like, oh, I'm going to get me a 1967 Corvette and redo it and drop a new engine and do all. We don't see a lot of that with EVs. So it's really cool having that perspective of what it's like to own one of these. These Rally Edition Mach-E's and just some of the cool things that she's done with it, taking it off road. So yeah, cool interview. So if we forgot anything wrong, just put it in the notes and correct the comments, and let us know where we got wrong, and we'll make sure we clear those up. So
all right, well, that is a wrap for today's episode. Thank you all so much for plugging into the Friday Charge. Be sure to subscribe to the EV Geek podcast on YouTube and tap that notification icon to be notified about new releases. Next week, we will release our tour of the Genesis electrified GV70. And is next week when we do our interview with the Arkansas e-Traveler?
I believe so. Week? Yep.
Awesome. And next week, we're hosting our second Cars and Coffee of the year at Leva's Roastery in Little Rock, technically Roland.
Yep.
So if you have a chance to come out, we'll be there 9 to 11. We are giving away some goodies. I've got a NAX to J1772 adapter, and you have a J1772 to NAX adapter.
Yep.
That we're giving away. So you just got to show up and enter. Yep. That's it.
Put your name in the pretty little raffle box that I ordered off Amazon.
So if you guys have any thoughts or questions, drop them in the comments below, because we would love to hear from you. So long, everyone, and we will see you on the next episode of The Friday Charge.